This is Michael Popok, and by the looks of things, it's time for Legal AF After Dark. There's a battle brewing. We're watching it in real time. There's a feud. Special counsel Jack Smith on one side, Aileen Cannon, federal judge on the other. Mar-a-Lago and Donald Trump's criminality hangs in the balance. Why are they fighting it out? Isn't the judge now ruling in favor of the special prosecutor, or is she? There may be more than meets the eye. We'll tell you all about it on Legal AF. Take a listen. So let's kind of get into the home stretch of our episode today and talk about Mar-a-Lago. You've been a prosecutor. You ever battle it out with a judge the way that this prosecutor is battling it out, pulling teeth every moment on every issue, trying to just get justice served? What do you think, Karen?
Yes. I've had some pretty big battles with some judges for sure. Nothing like this, though. This is just utterly surprising to me how really lawless, frankly, Judge Aileen Cannon is being. She just really makes the most bizarre, unlawful, something nobody recognizes types of decisions and statements, et cetera, and just isn't really being kind of a good judge, if you will. And what really surprises me is I recently went back to see what was her background, because I can't figure it out. It's so elementary, things that she's doing and not doing. It's not even, it's like she still has the case on for trial next month, when there's no way the case can go to trial next month because half a dozen or more pretrial rulings that have to be made haven't been made. I mean, so there's no way that trial's going, but yet she doesn't change the date. It's just one small example. But, the other thing about Judge Aileen Cannon that is just so strange, is I went back and looked at her background, because I thought, it makes no sense. Is she afraid of Trump? Is she not very smart? Is she inexperienced? Is it more sinister than that? And she's doing Trump's bidding, and she's trying to throw the case. I can't figure it out, because that's how incredibly strange and not good she's being. And so I looked, and Popok, she comes from the appellate unit of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami. That's one of the most prestigious, really smart appellate divisions in this country. You can't have worked there for as long as she worked there and not have some brains. She would not have survived there. And so it really was just shocking to me that that she's behaving this way. And it makes me think she's either, trying to throw the case for Trump, or she's somehow afraid of Trump and needs to kind of entertain so many of his arguments that make no sense. What do you think of this whole Cannon, what she's doing on behalf of Donald Trump for Jack Smith?
Well, I practiced in the Southern District of New York. I'm a member, Southern District of Florida. I'm a member there. I didn't know Aileen Cannon per se, but I did early versions of analysis of her background. I didn't try to defend her. I just wanted to be sort of fair about the analysis. And I know people that know her. And I know where she went to school in Coral Gables, Florida. I know other people that went there, a private school down there. She went to a good university. She was a member of the Federalist Society when she was in law school. But as you said, she worked in the appellate division of the Department of Justice. And frankly, not a lot of people, getting a federal judge position is a pretty plum thing. But not a lot of people were beaten down the door of Marco Rubio, who is the senior senator from Florida, in order to fill the position that was open in the Fort Pierce division of Florida, which is like the hinterlands, as far as I'm concerned. Sorry, Fort Pierce people, above West Palm Beach. It's a small courthouse, got like one judge in it. And they were looking for a type. They were looking for a young, inexperienced judge who was a Federalist Society, Hispanic American, preferably a woman, to fill the job. And somebody recommended Aileen Cannon, and she got the job. She lived up there. Her husband has a job up there. We've done some hot takes about some issues her husband has with some companies that he's worked for. But that's, there weren't that many takers for that particular job. I know people that sort of line up. If it was a Miami position or Fort Lauderdale or West Palm Beach, there would have been a lot more. And then unfortunately, when the wheels spun and they filed the case at West Palm Beach, they were shooting for her, I think. And because of senior status of some judges and some judges that aren't taking cases and other things, it landed on her, even though she's in Fort Pierce, not in West Palm Beach, which isn't really convenient for anybody. But I can't make heads or tails of it. And the only way you can explain it is to state the obvious, which is she seems to be biased against the Department of Justice. She has from the very beginning, when she tried to interfere with the prosecution of the case and the investigation of the case, even before it became an indicted, Donald Trump became indicted, which is really odd, and so odd that the 11th Circuit, her bosses, slapped her back twice and admonished her about doing that. And then I thought, well, maybe she's chastened from that. Maybe her wings are singed and she'll make better decisions. No, that hasn't happened. She's wherever she can help Donald Trump, either through delay or rulings, she has. And that has put the government at a tremendous disadvantage, more so than the one they already have, which is they're burdened with a higher level of burden to prove at trial. But they don't need to be, it's enough to have the defense on the other side and the law that they have to comply with. But now they got a judge who's got his finger on the scales, it looks like. And he's just biding his time, waiting for the right moment to take it to the 11th Circuit. And I'm sure it's been frustrating and to much consternation of Jack Smith that he hasn't yet found that moment, because if he had, you would have already done it, to get her back before the 11th Circuit and seek potentially her reassignment. He's waiting for her to make that big wrong decision. And the problem is she doesn't make decisions on purpose. She finds ways to make half decisions and sort of decisions, or when she grants something, it looks like a win for the prosecutor, but when you read it deeply, it's really not a win. It could create a double jeopardy problem at the trial, which is devastating to the defense if that were to happen, allowing the jury to be improperly instructed ultimately, and he gets acquitted, is a bad thing for the prosecution, and he's worried about that. And so we're gonna, he's focused on it. Look, let's be honest. Right now, Jack Smith has two major cases against Donald Trump. Same office of the independent counsel. One of them is on pins and needles and has stayed subject to whatever he can convince the United States Supreme Court to do on April 25th. He just filed his brief, which I thought was, as always, masterful, and gave them an exit ramp in the brief to, even if they find that there's something about Donald Trump that was part of his official duties, and they want to give former presidents official duty immunity, that the things in the indictment that have been alleged are not part of his official duty. They're private acts for a private purpose and private means. And to which Donald Trump has basically conceded, because he keeps saying First Amendment, which is a private right. So they say, even if you want to go there, here's the exit ramp for you to make a small decision to keep this indictment on track. So one of his cases is hanging in the balance in the twilight with its existential, its existence held in the hands of the right wing of the Supreme Court. And we'll get a ruling, sure, before they go on summer vacation in June, but maybe not before that, which gives very little time for Judge Chutkan, if she adds on the 89 days that she said she was going to add on to allow for prep. Then you're talking about the late summer trial starting before November. His other trial, so you had two, right? If you subscribe to the portfolio method, you try you get a lot of cases up and running and hope that you can get, one or two of them up and running. His other case is in front of Judge Cannon, and he can't seem to get her out of first gear when it comes to setting this trial or doing the things necessary to get this trial prepared for trial. And so he's got to be pulling out his hair or his beard hair or whatever it is, because he's got this two really strong cases. Putting aside all the crap with Cannon, who doesn't think that the evidence against Donald Trump, when it's finally presented to a jury in the Southern District of Florida, with the witnesses that'll be testifying against him, including executive assistants, that housekeepers and maintenance workers and IT workers who are all involved with this conspiracy, wittingly or unwittingly, and lawyers for Donald Trump, when they all put on that evidence and what's in the box, who doesn't think he's going to get convicted there? At least, I think he is. But we have to get to that. We got to get to the merits of the case in a courtroom with a jury. And then you got his other strong case, with the 4 counts that are listed there. And he's got all the witnesses in the war. He's got enough witnesses for 5 trials. Trump's Department of Justice testifying against him, Trump's White House counsel testifying against him, Trump's personal lawyers testifying against him, elected officials testifying against him, including, ultimately Lindsey Graham and Mike Pence, election officials testifying against him, people that are cooperating, people that aren't cooperating. There's more than enough evidence here to prove the case, but he's got to get to the merits and to a jury and back to Judge Chutkan. So it's what we're watching is like the frustration of justice at the current moment, and Jack Smith's reactions to it. So we'll continue to keep a close eye on it, along with our colleague Ben Meisalas, whose special personal jam is anything related to Classified Information and Procedures Act. I'm begging him to do a Patreon exclusive video on that. I'll get him to do it. Welcome back. Well, if you like lawyers talking about things they know what they're talking about at the intersection of law and politics, you've come to the one place in the whole YouTube verse that does it like we do it. Legal AF on the MeidasTouch Network. Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, we do a full-blown podcast, and that was a clip. Please, if you liked it, join us. Wednesdays, I do it with Karen Friedman, Agnifilo. Saturdays with Ben Meisalas. And then on hot takes like this one, right here on the MeidasTouch Network. If you missed our show, there's an example of it. We really appreciate it. Send that off to friends and family. We really appreciate that. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.